Hey, it's Clive from To Be a Bonsai. Welcome back to my show. So a lot of you guys are asking me the question, what do we do when we buy a bonsai and what's the next step? So a lot of us go to the local nursery, we buy a bonsai and we're not quite sure what to do next. Everything starts growing wild and we just simply start panicking and are not quite sure what's the next step. So today I'm going to be showing you what you should be doing when it grows wild like this. So we've left our bonsai to grow wild in the garden. The first thing I like to approach is looking at the bottom of your tree. So that's the ground going up to the apex. So I've noticed there's some weeds that are growing in the tree. This is the first thing I like to do, is start pulling out all those weeds. Make sure you get the whole root system so no more weeds grow back. If there are some stubborn weeds, you just want to dig around. Cool, so I noticed another weed over here, so I'm going to just grab it. I'm going to dig around a little bit just so I can get a good grip, and I'm going to grab it out just like that with all the nice roots attached to the weed. I'm going to find some more. Here's another little one. I'm going to grab out some more of these. And this can be quite therapeutic if you just turn off your mind and let yourself enjoy the moment. So now we're going to start trimming the tree. So all we're going to need today is a pair of bonsai scissors, unless we encounter a much bigger branch, but I don't think we will, as the tree is quite small. So what we want to start doing is, if you can see over here, there are some shoots that have grown along the bottom of the tree. So here's a close-up of the shoot I was talking about, right on the base of the trunk. The reason we want to get rid of this is because it's also blocking off the main center line of the tree. So anything growing right on the base, you want to trim off, and we can already see the desired shape of the tree. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to go as close to the trunk as possible, and I'm going to trim off the two shoots I can see right like that. So I'm going to turn the tree around. And now we can see these long, daunting shoots that most people would think are very daunting. But all we really need to do is trim them back so we can encourage new growth within the tree. So we've got these two daunting shoots over here. A lot of us would start stressing and not knowing exactly what to do. All we really want to do is start encouraging new growth within the tree. So if you can see, this shoot is directly growing upwards, so it's going to start competing with the main center line of the tree. So what I want to do is trim it back to the first two sets of shoots over there. So I'm going to trim it in the middle, and I'm going to allow myself to leave a bit of dieback along the tree. Now I want to come into the next long shoot, and I'm going to trim it right to the two shoots over there, and I'm going to allow myself to leave some dieback. Just like that. So you guys are probably wondering what I'm talking about when I say dieback. When we talk about dieback, it's trimming the branch back and allowing a little stump to die off. So we want to cut it, allowing a little stump on the branch so it doesn't kill off these two new shoots over here. So if I had cut it right over here, there might be a chance where when the plant dies back, it might kill off these shoots. So I leave a little stump just so when it dies back, it won't kill off these two new shoots over here. So now what we're going to do is work our way up the tree. So you can see I started with the 2 shoots right on the base. I've worked my way to the bottom branch over here, and now I'm going to start what I like to say, climbing the stairs of the tree. So over here you can see there's a long shoot right over here. There's a few smaller shoots over here that we want to trim back. So I'm going to trim it back to these first 2 sets of leaves right over here, just like that. And there's one growing out that's quite long, and these 2 that are growing upwards. So a nice way to look at it, we're also probably wondering, how do you know if the shoot is too long? So generally speaking, trees like to have a nice conical triangle shape. So you can see within this, it's got a nice conical triangle shape. And if the shoots are exceeding that nice triangle shape, it's probably too long. So you don't want to clean up the tree too much. You also want to be mindful of how much you take off. Right now, all we're doing is trimming the tree back so it doesn't lose its shape. You don't want it to become leggy and all the branches to be too long for the proportion of the size of the tree. So if you find any leaves that are facing downwards and want to grow in the direction that is growing down, you want to trim them off now. Now is a good time to trim them off, because you're just gonna, it's what we call wasted energy on the tree. So rather allow the energy to go to where we want the energy to go on the tree. And if you see anything growing right downwards, we're going to trim it off. You can see over here, here's some that are growing downwards like that. And if I face the tree up, you can always see some more. Tell me if you can notice any in the comments. So what do I do if I cut too much off? Luckily, what the tree we're working on at the moment is called a wild olive. So these are generally pretty hardy trees. They generally backbud very easily. So sometimes trimming too much off might not be too detrimental. It might add more character to the tree. So generally speaking, you just need to be patient and wait for it to start backbudding again. So the tree is looking nice and cleaned up. We've taken out all of the weeds from the tree. This is also very important because the weeds will start taking the nutrients from the plant. We've trimmed all the long nodes on the tree. We've cut some leaves that are growing downwards. And I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, oh, but my tree doesn't look like this. So I thought, why don't I just go get another tree and maybe I can show you something, a very similar exercise, but on something a little bit more different that's also a wild olive. So I'm going to be right back. I'm just going to go quickly grab one from the garden. So I've got the other tree. It's also a wild olive. You can see that there's some shoots growing right at the bottom again. There's a few weeds growing inside the soil, and there's tons of extended nodes on the tree which we'll cut back together. So you can see the tree we worked on before was a lot smaller and a lot more compact. This tree is a lot younger, but we've grown it more in like a formal upright style. So if you can see, this tree is a lot taller than the other tree. So we're going to first start by taking out all of the weeds in the soil of the tree. Alrighty, so now we're going to start trimming off the nodes growing right on the base of our tree. Remember, we want to show off that nice trunk line. So having these little nodes right at the bottom are just going to hide the trunk line of the tree. So we want to show off the nice trunk line of the tree. So if anything's growing right on the base, we want to trim it off. Just like that, right on the trunk. That's a nice big long node over there. There we are. Let me spin it around and see if you can notice any others. There's a nice small one there, just like that. So I showed you on the last tree how we want to cut back to the first 2 sets of leaves. So this is a completely different tree. I'm going to show you again on this nice, lovely, formal upright tree. Over here, you can see it's extended quite a bit. What I'm going to do is trim the juvenile foliage, which you can see the color is slightly different. This is a lot younger than this hardened foliage over here. So I'm going to trim the juvenile foliage off to these 2 new sets of leaves over there. So you can see this long branch that's growing downwards. This is what would have happened if we had allowed that leaf that we plucked off earlier to grow. It would have turned into a massive big branch. And this isn't great for bonsai. We don't want anything growing completely under the branch like that. So I'm going to trim it off right now. And you can see over here, there's some leaves that are growing under. We want to pluck them off. So this is also a good time to start cleaning up all of the interior bits of the branches. So if you come inside over here, there's lots of little pieces of foliage and branches growing right in the interior bits. But this is all going to get shaded off and it's going to eventually die off. So we might as well remove it off as we go now. So we're going to trim off all these little bits of foliage. We're going to get in there. These can also become nice little nests for spiders, so we want to rather get rid of them now. So this is another example. We're going to trim off anything right in the interior there. We like to show off the interior branches in bonsai. Anything like you can see over here, this branch is growing towards the tree. We want to trim that off, just like that. So we've trimmed our lovely wild olive. It's looking a lot better. It's much healthier and happy. And the reason why I decided to show you guys 2 trees today is that you can see how different each tree is. One is a lot taller, one's a lot more compact. This tree is also, I've actually been growing for a good 10 years. It started as just a small little olive that was growing in the garden, just to thicken up the base. And I've actually got a friend, Paul, who desperately wants to buy this tree because he's also just fallen in love with it. And something inside me just doesn't want to let it go. So I really hope you enjoyed your time with me. Please give me a follow on Instagram @ToBeABonsai, and I'll see you guys next time.